Oh yeah. Look at those 4-color CGA graphics. Don't be confused by the oxen, this is not Oregon Trail. This is a game called Sopwith, SDL Sopwith to be exact. Sopwith 1 was a game released in 1984 on the IBM PC and Atari ST. Since it was released in 1984, Linux was not one of the original platforms it was released for. Instead, in 2000, the original developer released the source code under non-commercial license GPL at the request of fans. Shortly after that, a game called Sopwith 2 came out, which improved on its predecessor in pretty much every way. However, Sopwith 2 was still not Linux compatible. It wasn't until SDL Sopwith came out that made it Linux compatible. It's called SDL Sopwith because it makes use of the Simple DirectMedia Layer libraries, which makes it cross-compatible with pretty much every operating system that uses SDL, including Linux. And SDL Sopwith made improvements on top of Sopwith 2, including the addition of missiles, planes that get wounded, and splattered burns and cracks on the screen. Apparently the latest version of SDL Sopwith has been ported to GTK+. However, as far as I know, this is just the basic SDL Sopwith. And like many open source game ports, SDL Sopwith is still in development. The last bug fix was made May 22nd, 2014. That's pretty cool. And of course, the game is written in C. So let's check this game out. So right out of the gate, you're greeted with a very nice keyboard-driven title screen, complete with 3 planes, one of which is crashing, a cow, and a tank. Cool. The music that you hear here is pretty much the only tune that you hear in the entire game, and it generally only plays when you die. So, in the options menu, you've got pretty straightforward options, I think. Missiles, solid ground, not sure what that does. HUD splats, that's like birds and things. Wounded planes, oxen and birds. Harry keys mode, I'm not actually sure what the hell that does. Run in full screen and scale window by 2 times. I'm actually surprised such an old game has this many options. So I'll only be showing gameplay from the single player against computer mode because any other mode results in a segmentation fault like this. And apparently this was a known issue. The problem seems to be that the game is expecting the GCC compiler to be less than 4.7, and I think that I'm using 4.8 or higher, so it runs into these problems. I could fix this by simply getting the latest version of the game from the SourceForge site and compiling it, but I really don't feel like doing that. But single player against computer works just fine. So playing full screen, the only bug that I came across was that the mouse cursor stays in the window until you move it away. That's kind of annoying, but just move it off the screen and it's not a problem. So in general, the gameplay is pretty simple. It's not as simple as it probably could be, and I'll talk about some of the frustrations I had with the game here in a little bit. But the first thing I ran into is that the control scheme isn't really intuitive at all. So the left and right arrows on the keyboard cause your plane to go up or down and up depending on which way you're flying. The up and down arrows cause your plane to fly inverted or not, and you'll notice that I pretty much always fly upside down because the control scheme flips in reverse when you're flying to the left. So that means if I press left and I normally go up, I'll go down instead. And when you're trying to do last second maneuvers, you will inevitably find yourself crashing straight into the ground. The funny thing is that flying upside down has no negative impact at all. So the CGA graphics are actually really fun. Your team is cyan, and then the enemy team is that pinkish purple color. Your goal here is to destroy everything that is purple, except for the cows, of course. You'll be penalized points if you kill a cow. But if you accidentally kill a cow, or if you crash into a cow, that's fine. Your weapons consist of machine guns and bombs, both of which you have limited ammo. When you run out of ammo, you simply fly back to the base. Generally speaking, you'll press H on the keyboard and have the computer fly back for you. Though the computer will actually crash your plane if you try to fly in wrong. The objects you need to destroy are basically tanks and buildings. In this particular game mode, there's enemy airplanes, but you don't absolutely have to destroy them. All things considered, the AI is actually very good. I found it a lot easier to destroy the enemy planes by simply shooting the flocks of birds and hoping that the planes will run into them. So when you take a hit from an enemy airplane, your plane actually starts to smoke. It takes 2 gunshots to completely shoot down a plane. Likewise, it takes 2 bird collisions to down your plane. You can also collide with the debris that appears when you destroy a building or a tank, and that'll kill you in 1 hit. Of course, colliding into a plane will destroy you in 1 hit too. So the sound is very simplistic, but I mean, what do you expect for a game that uses PC speaker for sound? The one thing that annoys me is every time you die, it plays that same stupid tune. And that's the other thing about this game. I found it to be incredibly difficult, so I heard that tune constantly. It just pissed me off. One thing I really wish they had done is given the player more lives when they're playing on this mode. Whether it's accidentally colliding with things, running into birds, or just being shot by the enemy airplanes. It is really hard to get anywhere with this mode. To be honest, I never even passed the first level. But generally speaking, for a retro game like this, there's really not a lot negative to say about it. So what? The game's really hard, the graphics are in CGA, you keep hearing the same music every time you die, but the gameplay is spot on. It's really good. So that being said, if SDL Sopwith is in your software repositories, you should definitely get this. Especially if you're into retro video games, and even if you're not, it's just a really fun game to play. So you'll definitely want to check this one out.